for Trump is a vote for hate!
Please do not touch or harm the protester.
That's not what one thinks of when one thinks of a school in rural Iowa.
It's not that we're against immigration. It just can't be like an avalanche.
The Iowa caucuses are the first ballots cast in the 2016 presidential election, ultimately determining both the Republican and Democratic Party nominees. Should I get some of the Jeb sunglasses? Because of its unique place in the election calendar, candidates spend months here shaking hands, kissing babies, and accumulating votes. While it might not always predict the party's winner, it sets the tone of the race going forward. And this election cycle, the immigration rhetoric in Iowa has been particularly harsh. Kenya Calderon is a junior at Drake University's business school. She's also a dreamer, an undocumented young adult who was brought to the United States as a child by her parents, and who, under an executive order from President Obama, is permitted to work and attend university. This campaign's inflammatory rhetoric about undocumented immigrants has turned her into a political activist.
I went to challenge Bernie Sanders, and he refused to talk about immigration. I've marched next to you guys. I've supported you guys. It's time that we support one another. And he is not good for my family. I called him out that he didn't talk about immigration. He avoids me every time he sees me.
So we're pulling into Marshalltown, Iowa, about an hour from Des Moines. And Marshalltown is a very small town that is about to host a very large rally for Republican presidential candidate and frontrunner in the Iowa caucuses, Donald Trump. Now, we've come to Marshalltown to see what type of person would come out on a Tuesday afternoon on a very, very bitter, cold day to support a New York billionaire in his quixotic attempt for the American presidency.
Famous Herwig pins, bomb the shit out of ISIS pins, folks, right here. Bomb the shit out of ISIS pins. I got the hats he wears and signs right here. He has the Sharpie pen with him. He loves to sign the hats.
It's going to be quite a big rally, as we can see by the very, very long line of people waiting to get in. Also on the other side of the road, a very, very small line, but a diligent bunch of anti-Trump protesters. Interestingly, no one's really saying much to each other. Quiet on this side, Iowa nice. Quiet on the other side, also Iowa nice.
I'm a Trump Cruz supporter.
Okay.
I'm still holding out for a Trump Cruz ticket, despite what he's saying on the trail.
So what is it that brings you to Donald Trump? What is the one issue? Is there one issue?
Immigration. We should not be putting one dime to any illegals or immigrants, refugees. We're paying for their health care, their sex change operations, and God knows whatever else we're paying for. This year's election is not about conservative or liberal, it's about Americans. You know, we've got to protect America first.
A vote for Trump is a vote for hate!
You are out here agitating, and you can't participate in this caucus, can you?
Exactly.
You're saying that the people that support Donald Trump, who will probably win this caucus for Republicans, are hateful. What's the response you get from Iowans? Or Trump supporters, Trump supporting Iowans?
They think we're nuts. Okay, Latinos, I'm gonna need you to say this really loud. Education, not deportation! Education, not deportation!
Ladies and gentlemen, we all know that as President of the United States, Mr. Trump will continue his lifelong defense of the right of free speech in America. However, some people have taken advantage of Mr. Trump's hospitality by choosing to disrupt his rallies by using them as an opportunity to promote their own political messages. While they certainly have the right to free speech, this is a private event paid for by Mr. Trump. If a protester starts demonstrating in the area around you, please do not touch or harm the protester. This is a peaceful rally. In order to notify the law enforcement officers of the location of the protester, please hold a rally sign over your head and start chanting, "Trump, Trump, Trump." Ask the people around you to do likewise until the officer removes the protester. Thank you. for helping us make America great again.
Here he is. He's going to be your next president with your support.
You know, they wanted to build a wall 12 years ago, 13 years ago, and one of the reasons it couldn't get built, you wouldn't believe it, they couldn't get an approved environmental impact statement. Do you believe it? I say the wall's going to be built. We're going to build the wall. It's going to be a real wall. It's going to be a big wall. People aren't coming through. And by the way, people can come in, but they have to come into our country legally. Legally. They got to come in legally. But I've had some of the politicians that I'm competing against right now on the stage, because don't forget, for 6 months I've been a politician. Before that I was a businessman. I hate to even use the term. I hate to use the term politician. Well, folks, that's okay. Sure. Enjoy yourself, darling. Thank you. You know the shame with all of these people here.
When I do my activism work, I'm very realistic. You see a lot of the activists say citizenship now. I don't agree with that.
You don't?
I don't.
Tell me why.
I feel like there's got to be a process. I understand when they say they don't want open borders. If I was born here, maybe I would say the same thing. We shouldn't just be given citizenship.
So you are okay with the process that, because right now there really isn't a process.
Yeah, right now there's not.
Yeah, and especially if you've been here too. But you would be okay with the process, and at the end of that, you had some sort of legal status, whether it be a path to citizenship, a path to a green card, or a path to permanent residency. You'd be okay with that.
Yeah, because I feel like that's the common ground that we need in this country.
Who is this person I'm talking to? You're the shrieking activist who gets up there brave as all hell and yells and bangs, and I see this unbelievable. I know now you're
I'm very realistic.
now you're very realistic, and you're saying I'm going to be pragmatic about this, and a very pragmatic approach.
Because I think I see the bigger picture. I don't like to talk about something that isn't going to happen. I'd rather talk about something that's doable, and that could, give relief to a lot of people.
The number of Latinos in Iowa has doubled in the last decade, but they're not just flocking to urban centers like Des Moines. The once lily-white heartland of rural Iowa has been radically transformed by immigration. With all this campaign rhetoric about building walls on the southern border with Mexico, we tend not to associate immigration with small towns in rural Iowa. But here in Storm Lake, the immigrant population is increasing, and some people say that it's over 50%. But we can't really know for sure because so many of those families are undocumented. What we do know for sure is that the town's meatpacking industry has drawn thousands of immigrants with the promise of work. In Storm Lake, these changing demographics are on stark display at its elementary school.
When we first built the building, I had a parent, and she'd been in our community for a long time. And she's Latino, spoke English and Spanish, and she wanted me to hang a Mexican flag on the flagpole. And I looked at her and I smiled and I said, well, then we're going to have to hang an Irish flag, because I'm Irish, and we're going to have to hang a Sudanese flag. I went through all the languages and all the cultures in our school, and I said, I don't think we're going to have room for all those flags. I have an idea. And she goes, what's that? And I go, we're going to put up 2 flags. He goes, oh, see, Mexico and Iowa, or Mexico and United States. I go, no, we're going to put United States and Iowa, because that represents all of us. This is the most diverse school in Iowa. Hey, how are you guys? Where are you heading? Oh, have fun.
So what is the demographic breakdown of the school?
Like the percentage of each?
Percentage, yeah,
we
roughly.
We have probably 59% Latino.
Okay.
Oh, about 9% African American. Around 10% Southeast Asian of different. And then...
so we're at 80% now.
82.
82% now. Mm-hmm. And then there's sort of 18% white, is that about right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not what one thinks of when one thinks of a school in rural Iowa.
Here we go. All right. Now find
This is K through 4. Okay. How many students are
900
here?
students.
900 students in K through 4?
Mm-hmm.
Is that, it seems big to me. Is that big?
That's big. But when we opened this building 7 years ago, we had 680 students, and we have grown by that many students.
You've grown by a third in a very short period of time, and that's mostly the result of immigration, right? Mm-hmm. But what percentage of recent immigrants are documented immigrants? Do you have any idea? You don't know.
I have a sense, but we can't ask.
I think there are plenty of people who come here for the job and get whatever legal, paperwork they need, and then they move towards that citizenship piece because they know it's the right thing to do. I'd be very curious to know the actual numbers of how many are actually illegal here.
Is it mostly Mexican?
Yes.
Okay.
But we're getting more and more from Honduras, Guatemala, Costa Rica. We have one from Colombia, El Salvador.
Micronesia.
Educating the children of recent immigrants isn't cheap, often requiring language training and additional tutoring. And Storm Lake is feeling the strain.
So we are out of room in this big, brand new, beautiful building. We're teaching in shared spaces, and we've converted some closets into offices or little tutor rooms.
What happens if next year 100 more students come?
82% of students at Storm Lake Elementary get free lunch because their parents' income falls below the poverty line. Storm Lake isn't just struggling with the financial strain that comes with the wave of new immigrants, but also the strain of integrating so many disparate cultures.
How much time of yours is spent in communicating things to people?
We do door-to-door communication because it's pretty effective. Mrs. Quickle and I do probably 2 or 3 times a week, driving over to people's homes in the morning, knocking on the door saying, excuse me, but your child's already missed 10 days of school, but in America, we go to school every day. That's how we get our children educated.
The family I went to pick up yesterday, I got it. This is the 4th phone number I've gotten from her since December 1st. So I can't call her to say, where are your kids? Why aren't they in school? So I just get in the car, go over there, show up at her house, bang on the door.
So you
get them out of bed. I got them out of bed yesterday.
Storm Lake sits in one of the most conservative districts in Iowa, and Principal Quickle plans to caucus for the Republicans.
If you take someone, leading the Republican pack now, like Donald Trump, who says the first day in office he's going to deport 11 million undocumented.
I actually said something to Donald Trump about his comment about deporting, being at his rally, and I got to talk to him. And I said, you just can't do that. And he said, I know you can't do that, but I needed to get people's attention, and then we'll work on it.
I supervise the 3rd graders at lunch every day, so I've gotten to know certain kids pretty well. And one of the students said to me one day, Mrs. Huntress, who are you going to vote for? I hope it's not that guy who's going to make us all go back to where we came from, or where our parents came from. And I think when kids start to say things like that, you think, I wonder what they were talking about at the dinner table last night.
Whoever becomes president, they've got to do something. It's not that we're against immigration, but it just can't be like an avalanche, and that's like what we live in.
Storm Lake is in a district represented by Congressman Steve King, a Ted Cruz supporter known for his anti-immigration stridency. We tracked him down before the Republican debate in Des Moines.
So what do you do with a town like your hometown? We see these kids in school growing up Iowans.
Well, here's what this issue sounds to me like, is that you're looking for the most sympathetic element of a large population of maybe 20 million people, and whose parents, either they or their parents, knew they were breaking the law when they came in. I'm kind of waiting for some of those dreamers to point their finger at their parent and saying, you put me in an illegal situation, and I think my parents should be punished for the crimes they committed. Nobody seems to be doing that. I gotta go.
Thanks, Bob.
Something really good has happened out of this craziness from both the Republican candidates and the Democrats. They have left me feeling like if I really want my parents to have a legal status here, I can fight for it and I will get it. I grew up calling myself an illegal, calling my parents illegals. That made me believe that we were criminals. For me, being undocumented means belonging to a community of 11 million of my brothers and sisters who are hardworking, who contribute to this country so much.
It's a label that means hardship, but also hard work.
Oh!